I don't have a problem at all with people coming in. All I expect for them is that they assimilate to the culture, they learn the language. 100% of everybody should speak English in this country. It should almost be compulsory at the gate. I mean, coming in, you speak the lingua. Forget all those publishing things in Urdu and Polish and everything else. What an absolute nonsense. You should buy into the country, okay, and give it, not coming here with an expectation that you might be able to get something. You actually want to come and give. That's the sort of Britain I want. I'd like to see it within a common market. At the moment, I can't see how it works on the migration front because the pressures on migration are so immense. It's a difficult area.
Are you saying the government's got joined up thinking then?
Sorry.
So I'll come to that. Sorry.
The question that I can't focus on is if every person signs up with a doctor, is open to any amount of help, how much more does the public have to find, the public purse, to fund it? Why don't we get the money back from their government directly? Why is no one standing in our hospitals the same as they do in Singapore or follow?
Because
you pay now from.
Well, first of all, they're not from Singapore. I mean, the Somali community that I treat in Slough, okay, coming from Holland and Denmark, okay, they're not coming direct from Mogadishu. This is European Union migration predominantly. It's not everything, predominantly. The second thing is, you're entitled to go into a Polish hospital. You're entitled to go to there is a reciprocal arrangement. The problem is that the service isn't as good. So therefore, it isn't equal. It's not equitable.
But if you go to France, you have to pay the money back.
But you can claim it back. It's a bureaucratic nightmare, but in theory, you can claim it back because this is movement of services.
I mean, if you present the re-111
service, I'm not saying it's straightforward, but in theory, in principle, there's a reciprocal arrangement.
All I was saying, making a comment from the last answers, are you saying that the government has got joined up thinking between its various departments? Because it doesn't appear so sometimes.
I think what I was saying, without tempting you to be even more disloyal to what I would say is that politics in general, the political scene, doesn't create the environment in which that is viewed as being electable. They think that you can't be ideological anymore. I think Michael Gove says we're living in a post-ideological era, and I disagree. I think that actually what people want is that vision and a coherent vision, principles and values. That's actually, in an increasingly chaotic world, people want leadership and some sense of direction. And they'll take quite a lot of pain in the process if they believe what they're going to, and they believe in the values and principles that have been displayed in actions and in words or whatever. I don't blame the current, because it is blighting politics, I would suggest probably since about the mid-90s. Okay, it's a Tony Blair phenomenon. I'm not a big fan. Okay, very charismatic, but I think pretty destructive of the political scene. We need to get back to politics being about passion and conviction. And I'm encouraged by the fact that it's not just me saying this, actually. I mean, it's quite a lot of my newer colleagues are very much of this opinion.
Gentlemen, and just going back to your response a couple of questions ago about financial reward. You seem to be equating quality, to some degree at least, with financial reward.
To some degree.
But surely the experience of the health authorities and almost every institution we look at over the last recent years is that way it doesn't work. We pay people fortunes, we don't get quality, and they don't take responsibility.
Allow me to. You're right. I wouldn't want you to go away and pay people more money and get better people, because demonstrably that isn't the case in the National Health Service, as seen by this report. I just think that there is a balance to be struck.
I agree with
that. And I think, if you look at if you look at my colleagues, 1 in 6 of my colleagues who joined me in 2010 have had relationships that were broken down divorce. Okay? That's a dreadful statistic, and a contributing factor to that is the working environment and pay and conditions. And I don't think that is, I personally think that is not in the best interest of the country.
I agree with you, and actually I wasn't arguing that you should not be paid. I was arguing the opposite, that where the reward has been given, which is clearly wantonly given in the last few years, huge escalators. There was some talk about us all needing this together.
Yes.
It seems to have disappeared. There seems to be very little evidence of these excesses being reined in both authorities or in private business.
No, I agree with you. Actually, the private sector has taken quite a hit. Actually, most people in small businesses, medium businesses up and down the country, they've had hardly any pay. Well, they've actually had a pay decline. And, the unemployment hasn't been as bad as was expected and projected, but actually the private sector has taken a hit. Where you're right is that there is clearly a problem that the public sector, though there have been public sector job losses, actually within the sort of management structure and the higher management structure, and certainly the sort of chief executive level, it's happy days. I mean, the amount of money that's being paid, I find it really, I'm confused by the level of pay in local government. I find that pretty shocking, and I direct that to all councillors in the room. I can't quite understand why people who are not even the senior people are being paid more than me in Bradford Forest Council. They're not the senior guys, they're sort of like medium ranking people. And I find that at a time where we're expecting people to take a hit in the private sector, which incidentally is where the great majority of wealth creation takes place, it's a difficult sell for me. I mean, it's possible, really. And I really do think that we need to look at this. The other thing I find with Whitehall, there are civil servants in Whitehall with a 6-year contract. To get rid of the pay 6 years. It is inexplicable. I mean, it's like, it really is quite remarkable the state we have got ourselves into. I'm under no illusions of how difficult it is to deal with it, because people don't like change, do they? I mean, who'd want to come off that contract? Okay? But we've got no choice. We have got no choice. The country is teetering on the edge financially. It really is. We've got 0.5% interest rates for 4 years or more. And people are going to food banks, and the people are struggling. We've got 0.5% interest rates. I'm sympathetic, I'm compassionate, but 0.5% interest rates it's nothing in the scheme of things. The people in this room remember 15% interest rates. Okay? 0.5% interest rates.
No incentive to save.
And of course there's no incentive to save, but I'm just looking at the amount of debt that's being carried, and I'm being told that apparently people are struggling. I'm thinking, God, what's it going to be like with interest rates at 3-4% even, which in itself would be historically low. And I think we're going to, when that comes, because it will come, because we've printed money, and so therefore the cycle of things, inflation will come. We've devalued the currency, 25%. It's coming. When it comes, I'm not going to be able to face people if somebody's still getting paid £160,000 a year to run a council, and £250,000 a year to chair the NHS commission people. I mean, they're just two things. How can I face people? They go to some other, but I'm getting paid £20 a year. My mortgage is just gone up £100 a month. It's always tough. It's tough. But I don't think you can ever take people with you unless you're honest and straight with them from the start. You've got to be honest and blunt, and it's gloomy and it's depressing, and I understand that, and I want to promise you selling upwards, I want to tell you a joke, I want to do all of those things, but you're not going to trust me if I don't tell it straight first. Having told you straight, I can then say to you, yeah, we can be great. UK space industry, something I'm passionate about, 10% growth year on year. All right, we are growing that industry. It's a fantastic industry. It's not necessarily having much of an impact in this constituency yet. I do my best. I've lobbied for them to have their headquarters here, do what I can. But there are positive stories to tell.
Very successful.
But you've got to tell people the truth first, because trust matters above all, really, in this game. Anyway, I've got time for one more question, because I am dead on my feet, so I do apologise. I'm very tired.
Just very quick on that.
Do you mind if I go to somebody who I've not had a question?
I'm quite happy.
Is that all right? Right to the back.
Yes,
Best till last.
well, I was in late, so it made a couple of people. But my question relates to, what do you feel of coalition in government? Does it work?
A nice easy one. Look, I mean, I made public I didn't support its formation. I didn't buy into the need for national unity stuff. I actually thought the country needed strong and purposeful government, coherent government, to go back to what I've been saying earlier. And I think when you go into coalition with people, it's extremely difficult to keep consistency because everyone's pulling in different directions. Which is why I could never support proportional representation, because you're forever having coalition governments. And so I say that up front. Okay, I wasn't a supporter initially, and I was in a minority, I might add, in my party. However, what's happened since? I think I probably had enough evidence to think that I might have been right. I think that there's been some good things. I think we've managed to make some difficult decisions, and having two parties making it instead of one, I think, has made it easier in terms of selling that to the public. But actually, particularly people in this sort of part of the world, I think they knew that the medicine was needed. You know, there was a sense of, parties over, hangover time, let's get through it. And actually, what I get from in the mailbag is, why did you only do a welfare cap of £26,000 a year for each family? Why wasn't it 20? 26,000 net, by the way. The cap is £37,000 gross earnings per household. That's our cap on welfare. And apparently that was politically difficult. So I'm not convinced. I certainly wouldn't. I don't want it to happen again. There's been something about it that's been okay. It's worked a bit better than I thought it would. And I will continue to support it because I'm loyal and that's what I do. I'm a Conservative in Parliament to repeat it, and that's the thing. But no, I'm not a devotee or convinced of the merits of coalition.
Why I asked the question, I said this morning just in private conversation that I thought coalition emasculated government.
I think, well, actually, in practical terms, this quad, this foursome at the top of government, actually everything having to run through those people, you don't need to be told that's actually creating more inertia in the system, because everybody needs to be consulted, those four need to sit down and be consulted on the direction of travel and policy and what have you. And I think that it's bad enough as it is to have a party coming in with one leader, with a team, all answerable to the leader, all standing on the same manifesto, and even then you encounter the sort of the Sir Humphreys sort of, and so actually implementing your plan has challenges. If you add into that the fact that you have two leaders and that you have a mixture of, the cabinet's now 32 strong. I'm sorry. You don't get many decisions made with 32 voices. But is it actually a decision-making process? I suspect people make decisions, it's just the four, probably. But then there's all the additional sort of meetings and committees and everything. I'm not convinced, no. I hope we don't see a repeated coalition. Thank you very much, and safe journey.
Can I just say how great we are to have an honest MP, and thank you all for coming tonight. It's a non-political evening, but I think we should all, as a public, thank Philip for coming along on a busy night and giving us your time and your such good answers. Thank you very much.